Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkings podcast. So what have I been up to this week? I have released a video on YouTube. This was about me leveling legs. I basically showed how I level legs. The likes of in the example I give was I've just been like was the bench I've just made, so I basically showed how I leveled the bench and then cut the legs to the height that I wanted. This could be used to fix like a rocking chair or a rocking table. Anything that's basically rocking. It's just annoying. So it's quite an easy fix. It's not hard to do. Obviously, this can be done on new builds and it can be done on like existing chairs. Because sometimes wood can twist and wood can warp, and that can cause legs to be uneven on tables and chairs and the such. So go check it out if you want to check it out. There'll be a link in the description, as with everything else, to all my other content. So yeah, check it out. Today I wanted to talk about shop aids, kind of jigs, templates, kind of things like that. I've made quite a lot of jigs and templates over the years. Those were more in me power tool days. When I had a table saw and things like that. I mean, some of them are pretty cool. Some of the jigs you can use for power tools. A very good person to check out if you're into jigs, if you're still using power tools and whatnot, and if you're into jigs. Check out Izzy Swan on YouTube if you haven't already checked him out. Some of his jigs are absolutely phenomenal. This guy's a bit of in my opinion, he's a bit of a genius with those type of jigs. It's absolutely phenomenal to watch what he's doing and what he's come up with. Excuse me, but I'm not really going to go into too much of those jigs today. This is going to be kind of more set for, things I do now. So there's not a great deal of like shop aids and jigs and templates that I use, to be honest. So it might be a bit of a quick one this today, but I'm going to kind of go over some of the stuff I have used, do use, and what I would like to do. Some things I would like to add to me shed or my workshop, if you like. So the first on the list is bench hooks. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a bench hook is. They are pretty handy. To be honest, I don't really use a bench hook very often, but at the same time, it would be hard to deny that they are handy to have. I mean, like bench hooks. I mean, in the past, like I say, I don't really use them a great deal now, but bench hooks I've had for everything. Obviously for the people that know, I do apologise, but obviously there's a lot of people there listening that don't know. So a bench hook is kind of what it sounds like. It goes on a bench and it hooks the bench, but it also hooks your piece of your material, what you're working on. These are great to use for styles, styles of doors or styles of like cabinet doors, things like that. They're really good to use on things like that. But it doesn't just stop there with them. Obviously, some of the stuff I've done, I've made, probably the most common one is a bench hook with like a bit of a mitre saw curve in it. So you would have a 90-degree saw curve, and you would have 245 degree surf. Why do I keep saying surf? Saw curves. So that would be basically just to help you, cut small pieces, trim, bits of moulding, very handy for things like that. I have also made kind of shooting boards without them being shooting boards, if that makes sense. So you've basically got your bench hook as it is, but you haven't put the sliding part. You haven't actually made a sliding part. So basically, your plane would rest on the bench top rather than riding on the a bit of an auxiliary fence, if you like, if that's the right word or the right terminology for it, what you would build into the bench hook, or a plane and stop, if you like, a shooting board type of thing. I mean, so I've done that actually a few times, and I personally found it worked okay. I know there's probably a lot of people listening to this and cringing a little bit, but I had some decent success with it. I mean, don't get us wrong, I did take the time. I think I've only ever made about 3 shooting boards, maybe 2 or 3 shooting boards in all the time I've been, using planes. The first one was horrendous, and it wasn't particularly square and stuff. And the second one, I did take a bit more time with this one, and it was square. But to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of shooting boards and such. I don't know. I never really I don't know. I'm lost for words with it. It's just something I've never liked, shooting boards. I mean, me personally, I just kind of like to freehand playing it, if that's the right way of saying it. So, I even done it today. I was playing in the end grain and end grain planing rather. It was like two and a bit boards that are glued together. So I think it worked out at it was 415. I think it was about 400 millimeters. So, it is actually, quite a bit more. And I think most people would probably do it the same way. But I mean, even the likes of one board, like 170 mil or even 100 mil, I'll still, I would still put it in me the notch on my bench and playing it that way. Kind of I would just use a smaller plane. Again, probably a lot of people would cringe in it and just say, well, why do you not just build a dedicated shooting board? It'll be quicker. And I can't quite argue with them, because they are right in what they would be saying. I don't know. That's just kind of how I do it. But again, I'm not knocking shooting boards. It's just I never really took to them. But yeah, it kind of is what it is. So next on my list is I've got it written down here as a Mortise Jig, but I couldn't really call it a Mortise Jig because I don't mortise with it. It does, however, mark out 4 mortises. So if you can imagine a square with 2 sides of the square, which has basically two sections of timber on the edge, so it's kind of like a bench hook, but it actually hooks the corner of a piece of whatever material I'm using, which normally tends to be oak. So it basically just clamps, hooks onto the end of the corner, and it has a mortise in the middle of it, set at a 45 degrees, which this jig is predominantly used for kind of a retro style TV units that I make. I think I may have made about 30 of these to date, so you know, it kind of makes sense to have something like this to be able to quickly mark out the mortises, and it marks them out really well. So I can like quickly pencil in the mortise on both sides of the material like really quickly. So I could have basically eight markings of a mortise at 45 degrees within like a minute, you know, probably less than a minute. So, you know, there's like a lot of little jigs or templates, whatever you want to call it, you know, that you can do. And I think these are very, very handy if you're repeatedly building stuff, even if it's not like, how can I put it? Even if you're building one of these a month or one of these every couple of months, I still think things like this, you know, are kind of good to have, especially when you're advertising the same piece of furniture again and again, which I am. And for some reason, these retro kind of TV units, they're very popular. I don't know why. It's not one of my better designs. It's very simple, and sometimes when I look at the design, I think it's a bit crude. You know, I kind of look at it and it gives a shivers sometimes. But it's, you know, I remember designing this like I design things in my head and then I just make them. That's my design process, because I can't draw. You know, I'll be honest, I can't draw. So I think of something and then, you know, and then I basically make it. I may be lying here, actually. I may be lying. I may have drew this one. I may have. It's not very often I do draw them, simply because I can't draw. But I may have drawn it. But anyway, this design, it looked good in my head and everything, and I started making it, made it. And when I made it, I was like, oh, geez, that's horrible. And I thought to myself, well, I've made it, now I'm going to try and sell it. And, you know, it sold straight away. And it's, at one time, it was one of my favourites. Not my favourite personally, but one of the pieces of furniture that's, you know, that sold well. So, you know, this silly little jig, you know, it's basically, it was a piece of MDF, and 2 strips of pine on the corner, you know. So things like that, it's, when you think about it, if I was to individually mark out, you know, even if I marked out with a couple of combination squares, which I was doing, you know, it was, I can't remember what it was taking as. It was taking as maybe 15 to 20 minutes to get like the full 8 markings out. I might be exaggerating a little bit there. It might be more like 10 minutes, but it's still 10 minutes. So I've took 10 minutes down to kind of less than 1 minute, you know. So things like that, it is worth you making little things like this. In my opinion, it is. The bad thing about it is that you can't use the chisel with them, simply because as soon as you put it in, you can clamp it into place. I've tried this a few times. You get it, you clamp it into place, then you put the chisel in. As soon as you tap the chisel down, you know, it's kind of the same when you're doing any shoulder cuts. If you're doing shoulder cuts on, you know, kind of, if you're doing a dovetail, and you know, you can mark your pins and your tails like dead on to the thickness of the material, but you'll always move that shoulder wall back. And it's kind of the same thing with this. As soon as I was putting it in and tapping my chisel down, it just moves the jig. It doesn't matter how many clamps you put on it, it always moves the jig. So that's something I don't like about it, which it would be really good if I could just basically tap my chisel all the way around and get the indentation of the, you know, of the pencil lines where I've put the pencil lines, so get the indentation of the mortise on both sides. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So, you know, I do have to go around again with a combination square and my marking knife and marking like that. It is a little bit funny as well because it's on a 45 degree angle, so obviously I can't use like a mortise gauge, which again would make it really quick, but with it being 45 degrees I really can't do that. So I was actually thinking about making a bit of a a more refined one, maybe getting some tin, so I can actually use a knife with it. Because the problem is, if I was to use a thin piece of plywood, so I could get my marking knife in and just use the wood, I'd probably damage the wood over time, and obviously the jig would just become not accurate, and it's kind of defeating the point of using it then. But even for the marking out, like I said before, it is very, very quick and it's very handy just to get that marked out, so I'd still recommend, if you're doing anything like that, it is good to have it. And like I said, I've had this for quite some time now, and I think I'll have it forevermore. But like I say, I may try and do something with the tin. It might might work out a little bit quicker for as well. It will if it works how I want it to work anyway. So the next one on my list is. This is like a kind of a bit of a template. Again, this is for furniture. So anybody that's had a little nosy through me social media, me Instagram, obviously there's tons and tons of photos and videos on me Instagram. Again, if you just want to check that out, there'll be a link tree, a link, and it's got all my content, if you want to check that out. But so I got an order. This was over 2 years ago now. I got an order, and the order was going to Germany, and it was for, I believe it was for 8 cassette tables. So at the time I was working offshore. I'll always remember this because there was a lot going on in my personal life at the time, and the whole ordeal was literally an ordeal. I had, like I say, a few things going on in my personal life, in relationships, and being stressed out, buying a house, working away. It was a very stressful time, and obviously I was on a bit of a time constraint with these tables, trying to get these 8 tables done, and trying to get them over to Germany. I had a nightmare with the delivery. The tables got damaged and so on and so forth. I'll never ever forget that time in my life. It was very stressful for many reasons, but yeah. Anyway, so this order for the cassette table, again, if you just check my Instagram out. These are pretty simple to make, but they do look very, very cool. It is a very eye-catching piece of furniture. So I had 8 of these to do, and it was the same again. I'd already made however many I'd made of them, I don't know. So obviously I got this order, and I thought to myself, it's going to be a lot quicker if I make some sort of a template, so I can use like a template / jig, to get everything marked out. And I'll be honest, that was one of my better decisions to do, to actually take the time to make it. Because when I was making them, I can't quite remember like the time it was taking us, but I was basically just marking out with gauges, combination squares, being able to trace a line parallel to the edges, whatever else. So there is actually quite a lot of detail that goes into one of these, like marking out wise, because there is a lot of cuts and whatever else, and it's as I said, it's not really complicated to make. A lot of it's just glued and screwed together, but there is a lot of marking out to do. because the original, like, I did actually make a drawing for this simply because I measured the tape and I scaled everything up. So it's a 1:8 scale ratio, so everything, it is quite accurate in that sense. But obviously I had the good sense to actually make this template / jig / story stick thing, if you like. But this has got a lot of, to look at it, it just looks like a crummy old bit of ply with holes and roundovers and whatever else in it. But like, obviously I know what it contains. It contains a lot of, like a lot of measurements. Basically, when I've glued this piece of when I've glued multiple boards together at the right size and clean it up after the glue's dried, basically I can just lie this on the bench, put the jig or the template on, whatever you want to call it, clamp it down, and it's got like a center mark what I can put on it. I transfer that onto the edge of the board, because obviously when you turn the piece over, sorry, not when you turn the piece over, but when you add the bottom piece, because it does have like a top and a bottom, you've actually got to have this the right way around. So once I've done that, I clamp it into place, and I just trace around everything. And as I said, it's got a lot of detail on it. It's got the front section parts. It's got the mortise holes in it for the legs. It has the top section cut out for where the tapes, where the top of the tape would be. And obviously at the very top, where the tape would be, on both sides, you've got like a strip that's got like holes in it. That's where I'm not really sure the proper name of them, but basically when you put the tape in and you put the tape down, I think these kind of metal pins go through the holes on the tape, and some sort of kit or gizmo goes against it, and I think it just rests against it. I'm not overly sure how it works, but it's something like that. So, I've got like a small template for that as well. So, it's obviously it's part of the template or the jig or whatever you want to call it. But again, that's got information on there again. You basically, you would put that on a piece of wood, trace around it, so you've got your outline straight away. And it has 4 holes in it. These are like basically pinholes. So once everything's lined up, maybe clamp it down or just put my weight on it, and I'll basically just, whatever I've got to hand, it might be like a fine hole or a nail, and basically I'll just, tap the four pinholes, and that gives us my center point for all of me holes I've got to drill. There's the hole, what size of the holes? They are 1 1/4 inch. So I'll just use a brace and bit, but obviously, I've tapped all these holes, and so now I've got all my center holes. So same again, that really does save us a lot of time. And I've made so many of these tape cassette tables. Ironically, I still haven't got myself one, I think that's a little bit sad. I really should really make myself one. It might actually be a good idea to do a video of that, actually, for anyone that wants to make one. I did actually make a video of it, but it was like, I think it was the first one I ever made, and I was using power tools, and it was very crude how I put it together. Obviously I've since perfected it since then. So yeah, I think that's enough about that one. So story sticks, I think I've only ever used about one story stick. I think I talked about this in a previous podcast, not so long ago, to be honest. I personally think story sticks are a great thing, although I haven't really used them to the full potential. I haven't I could actually be, I could actually be using them a bit more than I am. Obviously, I'm not using them at all, to be honest, but like I think I've used one or two in the past. But same again, for things that I'm making on a regular basis, or things that I have made on a regular basis, I should really have some sort of a story stick made. It's the same as the TV unit I was talking about, the one that that looked good in my head, and I made it and I wasn't happy with it. But that particular one, I always have to work out the legs, the height of the legs, because even though customers come to us, typically what they'll want, they just want the length of the unit changed. It may have to fit into an alcove, or it may have to cover a certain amount of wall in the centre of a room, something like that. So the height tends to be quite consistent, but at the same time, the size of the unit does stay consistent. Some people just buy it just because they like it, and they're not really bothered about the size of it. So for that reason alone, I should make a story stick for that unit. It might be a bit of a decent video to make, actually, just to kind of explain it and show the kind of the information you could get off one of those sticks. And it's going to be the same again. One of those sticks is just going to cut a lot of the guesswork out, and it's it's like I said before, me doing these, having to work out the height of these legs every time, it's a bit silly when you think about it, isn't it? Even if I haven't got a story stick made, you would, like, common sense would tell you, to have it written down, but you know what they say, don't you? Common sense isn't so common anymore. So, I'm not the brightest bulb in the box, as it were. Yeah, I kind of should. I kind of should have it wrote down, but same again. I really want to get things organised. I do actually. The shed that I've got in the back garden now, I really don't like. It's just not big enough. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. It would be good if it did. I'm gonna really have to have a see what I can do. But I would like a lot bigger shed / workshop. A lot bigger, probably 2 times what it is now, or maybe even 3 times in length. The width of it isn't really too bad, I don't think. I think just more length, and I could have a few more things in there that I wanted to have in there, basically. But I think story sticks are really should take the time and and get just kind of get a few made. I mean, the information what you're going to find on a story stick, it's you can put a lot of information on there. Obviously, you can get the length of pieces, the width of pieces, the thicknesses of pieces, with the position of mortise holes, the position of housing joints. You can basically mark all that information can be put onto one stick, and plus you've got 2 sides of the stick as well, so there's so much information that can get put onto that stick. It's just crazy. Obviously you can get the height of the legs. You can have a full-size mark out of the legs. You could have, the where your shoulders are going to be, how long your tenon's going to be, things like that. It's, there's just a lot of information that you can put on this stick. So for anyone that hasn't used one of these sticks, just have a think about it. Imagine having all that information on the stick, and you've gotten it written down. Leg tenons, position of housing joint 1, position of housing joint 2, position of housing joint 3. Do you know what I mean? And then in those housing joints, you might also have through mortise and tenon joints, you know, so you might have your little square tenons, you know, obviously like a tenant, a housing tenon joints, you know, kind of like a bit of a castle. You know, I'm not really sure the correct name for that sort of a joint, but it is kind of, it's a housing joint, and then you might have anywhere from 3 to 4 tenons that actually go like through the housing joint. Those would be wedged up, and obviously, you know, it's not going anywhere. It's quite a strong, like, good joint. It'll last for, you know, a lifetime. So going back to the story stick, again, you could have, so not only have you got the pieces, not only have you got the position of the housing joints all along a board. Say you might have a board, a couple of boards glued together, and for argument's sake, we'll just say the 1.5 meters. So not only have you got those housing joints set out, 3 of them for argument's sake, at certain positions, you can also turn the stick round, and then you can also mark out for where the through tenons are going. Do you know what I mean? So you've got the through tenons, you've got your housing joint positions, you've got the height of the legs, you've got the height of the bench, the unit, you've got the width of it. You know, you get the drift, you get where I'm going with this. It's just a lot of information that you can put on these sticks. So I really should start utilising them a bit more. Anyway, next, what I've got on my list or what I would like to do. This is more what I would like to do. I mean, don't get us wrong. There's a lot that I would like to do, but these I'm only going to go through 2 of these because time's getting on now. So they are very similar in a sense, but these kind of aren't. One of them kind of isn't. Kind of is my idea, but it's a bit of a takeaway from some sort of a power tool thing I've seen. But I'll explain that in a minute. But the first one I would say is what I would like to do. It's not a jig per se. This is just more of a dedicated glue up area. So quite some time ago, I seen it was kind of a bit of a Frankenstein thing, but it was very good the way it was set up, and it was basically some clamps that were on a diagonal. I think it may have been somewhere in the region of 70 degrees. That's what it looked like, 70 degrees. So they were like kind of, if you can imagine, some clamps 70 basically on the floor, and then lying 70 degrees into the wall, you know, kind of like how a ladder would, you know, how you would place a ladder against the wall. It's kind of like that, but obviously these were elevated off the floor, you know, like waist height, and basically, you know, you had all the bottom of the clamps at the same position, and then you would put your timber on, you know, just say maybe for a tabletop. So you would put your timber in place, you know, obviously, you know, put the glue on as you put your boards, you know, if you're gluing multiple boards up. And then everything was just, you know, there was pretty much lined up. And then obviously they just clamped it into place, you know, they were able to, you know, bang on it with you know, mallets. Basically manipulate it the way it was, but I thought that was a very, very, very cool idea, and ever since then I've wanted to do it. I mean, I was even debating on whether to kind of, you know, just make everything out of oak, you know, because you could actually do this, and you could have like a bit of a you know, just a simple wedge, like a simple wedge up system going on. You know, and I think that would be really cool, because it's quite common for me to glue up anywhere from like 2 to 4 boards. It's very common for us to do that. You know, so even if I didn't make mine as big as the pictures that I seen, for the life of us, I can't remember which person it was. You know, it was just one of those things that come up. I seen it. You know, I haven't got a clue, but you know, if you can grasp what I'm trying to explain, I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but you know, it's super handy. So that would be definitely some sort of like a glue up aid I would like to add. Same again if I ever get, you know, a bigger workshop, which it probably will happen if I'm honest. You know, I have been thinking about it a lot lately. So that was one thing. And the second thing I wanted to do was, or I would like to add if and when I get a bigger work area, would be like a kind of a sewing jig setup. So I think I seen this in kind of in a woodworking magazine. I think it might have been Fine Woodworking. It may have been. So basically, this was kind of like a kind of a bit of a frame, and it was the same sort of setup as the clamp setup, the glue up setup. So basically, you had it was like a wooden frame, and it was like same again, about 70 degrees angle from the wall to the floor. But I believe this was like the full, you know, this was the full area of the wall. So basically, it was, you know, a good 8 foot. This, you know, this frame I think it was about 8 foot by 8 foot. Obviously, I don't think I would go to that extreme 8 foot by 8 foot, but as what this was basically like a vertical cutter for breaking down sheet material. You know, the likes of plywood and MDF and whatnot. So basically, they'd like made a kind of a frame, and they had like a section where a skill saw would fit to it. You would obviously put the piece in place, move the skill saw to where you wanted it. It like had a rail it would run up, and then basically you just basically pushed the skill saw or the circular saw, you know, up, and it just broke the sheet material down. So I kind of wanted to do the same thing. I think pretty much ever since I've seen it, to do the same thing, but obviously I would be using my Japanese saws. So I've demonstrated this quite a lot. I've just not long demonstrated on TikTok. I think I did share it with Instagram and stuff. So it's easier. I'm not going to get into the hows and whys, because I did explain this like kind of on the video, but it is actually easier. I find it easier because you're using the weight of gravity, you know, so you don't have to pull down as hard. So obviously you've got the weight of your arms are being pulled down by gravity. So they're pulling your saw down, and obviously you're applying a bit of like muscle to it to pull it down. But if you can imagine this framework, and you having a piece of wood in it, so technically, if I build it how I see it in my mind, you know, I could rip cut on this, and I could also cross cut on this. You know, so obviously I would have like a fence that was adjustable to move. You know, I would have 2 fences that were adjustable, or even multiple fences that were adjustable to move up and down and left and right, you know, just to basically, you know, stop it from moving around. Obviously I would be using clamps with it, but you know, you could rip really easy, you know, because when I'm using a Japanese saw, I have used it quite a few times. You know, it does work quite well with, you know, wider boards, or glued up boards, rather, you know, anything over like kind of 300 plus, it works quite well, because obviously you've got the stability, you know, you've got the width, you know, of the board, so that obviously the wider something is at the bottom, the taller you are able to go up. So obviously when you use the saw, you put it on an angle, same again, about 70 degrees, and you can start ripping it down. So that is really easy, but obviously by the time you start getting down, to the floor, then you've kind of got to bend a little bit, and then you've got to go on your knees, and obviously when you get right down to the bottom, you've got to turn the piece around and start the cut again. But with something like I was talking about there, if I build it how I want to build it, how it is in my mind, you'll actually be able to stand up the whole time, and cut. I mean, if you're ripping something that's like, 6, 7, 8 foot, you obviously are going to have to bend down a little bit. But for quite the majority of my work, I would actually be able to stand up. And this is just going to take a lot of strain off my back. In my mind, I think just the body mechanics would be better as well. It's just you're pulling in different directions, you're using different muscles and whatnot. I mean, the way I see it, if you're actually pulling down, you're going to be using your biceps and your lats. I think the biceps and the lats are a good combination. Yeah, they are for me as well. For me personally, ironically, I have got issues with my back, but my lats are very strong. I have got quite a broad back, so my lats are quite strong. I'm not 100% of the lats are actually stronger than the pectoral muscles on average from person to person. I'm not actually too sure about that, but I just feel that the body mechanics would be better. So it would actually be quite interesting to try out as well. It would really be good to try out multiple cross cuts with this as well. I think that would work out really well. I think that might actually give you a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for here? Potentially, it might give you more squarer cuts. 90-degree cuts, possibly. It would be a good experiment to try out. Like I say, if I do actually get a bigger shed, or rather I make a bigger shed or shop, whatever you want to call it, I think I would probably, out of the two of them, I'd probably go for the saw one first. Obviously, I'd like to get the two of them done, the glow up section plus the saw area. But that would be quite an interesting thing. If anyone's done it, I wouldn't mind. If you could send us some pictures. Even if you're using power tools like a circular saw with it, I would like to see you set up and see what you're doing. It would be very interesting to have a look. So I think that's pretty much me today. I think I've rambled on enough today. So again, thanks very much for listening, guys. Really appreciate all the support, all the messages, all the nice comments. Really, really good to hear from you all. So yeah, I think that's going to be me till next week. So speak to you guys later.